Imagine losing everything you've worked for, your home, your peace, your dignity, because someone decided they didn't like the color of your skin. This is the story of a black man who had his house auctioned off by a racist neighbor. But what happened next will leave you speechless. The black man, let's call him James, had just moved into his dream home, a quiet, peaceful neighborhood where he hoped to build a life for his family. But from day one, his neighbor, Karen, made it clear she didn't want him there. It wasn't about noise or property lines. It was about the color of his skin. Karen started small, glaring at him from her porch, making snide comments under her breath when he walked by. But soon, it escalated. She began spreading rumors about James, telling the neighbors he was dangerous, that he didn't belong there. She filed false complaints with the homeowners association, accusing him of breaking rules he didn't even know existed. Then came the real blow. Karen discovered a loophole in the local property laws, a way to force James' house into auction if enough complaints were filed. She rallied the neighborhood, twisting the truth and painting James as a threat to their community. The system, already biased, sided with her. James received a notice. His home was going up for auction in 30 days. Imagine working your entire life to buy a home, only to have it ripped away because someone decided they didn't like you. James tried to fight back, but the legal fees were crushing, and the odds were stacked against him. Karen's lies had taken on a life of their own, and the community turned their backs on him. The clock was ticking. James was losing hope. But here's the question for you. What would you do if you were in James' shoes? Would you fight, or would you walk away? Let me know in the comments. As the auction date loomed closer, James felt like the walls were closing in. Karen's campaign against him had gained momentum. She'd convinced half the neighborhood that he was a threat, and the other half was too afraid to speak up. Every day, he'd see her smug face, knowing she was winning. But James wasn't alone. A local journalist, Sarah, had been following the story. She'd heard whispers about Karen's lies and decided to dig deeper. Sarah started interviewing neighbors, uncovering the truth behind Karen's accusations. She found out Karen had a history of targeting people she didn't like, especially people of color. Sarah's investigation revealed something even more shocking. Karen had forged documents to make it seem like James had violated neighborhood rules. She had manipulated the system, using her connections to push the auction forward. Sarah knew she had to act fast. Meanwhile, James was scrambling to save his home. He reached out to lawyers, but most turned him away, saying the case was too messy. He even tried to talk to Karen directly, begging her to stop, but she just laughed in his face. "You don't belong here," she said. The tension in the neighborhood was palpable. Some neighbors started to question Karen's motives, but no one dared to confront her. James felt like he was fighting a losing battle, but he refused to give up. Sarah's investigation was almost complete. She had the evidence to expose Karen, but she needed to time it perfectly. The auction was just days away, and James was running out of options. Here's the question for you. If you were Sarah, would you risk everything to expose Karen, even if it meant putting yourself in danger? Let me know in the comments. The day of the auction arrived, and the tension was unbearable. A crowd had gathered outside James' house, some curious, others there to support Karen. James stood on his porch, heart pounding, as the auctioneer began the proceedings. Karen stood at the front, smirking, confident she'd won. The auctioneer started the bidding, and Karen's friends immediately jumped in, driving the price up. James felt like the ground was slipping from under him. This was it. His home, his dream, was about to be taken away. But then, just as the auctioneer raised his gavel to finalize the sale, a voice cut through the crowd. "Stop!" It was Sarah, the journalist, holding up a folder of documents. She marched to the front, her voice steady but fierce. "This auction is based on lies," she declared. Sarah revealed everything: the forged documents, Karen's history of targeting people of color, and the manipulation she'd used to rally the neighborhood. The crowd erupted in gasps and murmurs. Karen's face turned pale as Sarah turned to her and said, "You don't get to destroy someone's life because of your hatred." The auctioneer paused, unsure of what to do. But the damage was done. The truth was out, and the crowd turned on Karen. People who had once supported her now shouted at her to leave. James stood frozen, watching as the woman who had tried to ruin him was now the one being exposed. Karen tried to defend herself, but no one was listening. The auction was canceled, and James' home was safe. Karen, humiliated and defeated, slunk away as the crowd cheered for James. Here's the question for you. What would you have done if you were in that crowd? Would you have stood up for James or stayed silent? Let me know in the comments. This story isn't just about karma, it's about how hatred can backfire in the most dramatic way. It's a reminder that no matter how powerful someone seems, the truth always finds a way to shine through. If you believe in standing up against injustice, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that inspire and empower. Let's keep spreading the message that hate never wins. Please note this is a work of fiction only for education and entertainment purposes.